Good evening.
Good evening.
As simple as that. So my name is Charles, as it has been said, and I come from one of the most beautiful countries in the world. One of the best countries you ever visit in the world is my country. And this is a country that is very, very much known for its beauty, its resources, and much of the things that we have are such kind of things. This country is known for athletics. We are best runners in the world. And maybe possibly I'm the best runner right now in Germany, right now. When I leave, maybe somebody else will take over, but right now I'm the best. And this country is known for its people. It has very wonderful people, people who have tried to embrace their culture, and this culture is what makes them people of that country. And it is that makes our country looks beautiful. This is the Maasai community in our country. And these are the people who have embraced their culture, and they are the one that I would personally say that those are the people who attract most of the people in our country, and also a source of revenue in our country. It's such a wonderful kind of way of attracting revenue into your society by embracing your culture. Very great. And then
I just ask,
yeah.
Soweit alles gut mit dem Englisch oder soll ich mal ganz kurz? Okay, so.
And that is, this is the Rift Valley. And this is one of the faults, the greatest fault on the planet Earth, that cuts across major countries, most countries in Eastern Africa. And my country is one of those countries. And this fault, according to the astronauts, they say, because these are the people who have tried to watch the Earth through the space, from the space, and they say that Rift Valley is one of the faults clearly visible from the space on the planet Earth, and one of the most beautiful faults on the planet Earth, and it cuts through my country. And this country is also the cradle land of mankind. According to the history of man, we say that man evolved from one point to another. And we tend to support this fact about evolution by the fossils we extract from archaeological sites. And it is said that our country is one of the countries that has the most number of fossils about human evolution. And it is also said that our country has those fossils that have lasted for more than 7 million years ago. Based on our country, you look at other countries like Tanzania, the oldest fossil you can ever get is a one that lasts almost 4 million years ago. So I would say personally that my country is one of the richest countries, and my country is one of the most resourceful countries, and my country is one of the most beautiful countries. And that is called, maybe some of them, some of you might be wondering, this is called Kenya. This is my country. And this is one of the countries that most of the people, particularly the media, have painted it with some of the worst information that this is one of the most dangerous countries. Recently they say this is the hotbed of bombing and death and all this. But I would suggest and I would say boldly enough in front of you that this is one of the most safest countries on the planet Earth. If you want to visit one of the most peaceful countries on earth, visit my country. And basing on its wildlife, this is one of the countries that you will never miss. All the big fights that you've ever heard of, talk of the elephants, talk of the buffaloes, talk of the hippopotamus, talk of the rhinos, talk of the zebras. All these are some of the animals, talk of the lions, talk of the leopards. These are animals that we interact with one-on-one, like our fellow human beings. And this is one of the cities I come from. one of the most fastest growing city in Africa.
Und jetzt ask. Soweit auch immer alles gut? Sagte noch niemand irgendwie? Ja? Okay.
If things are different, Alexander can do the rest. As in, he can translate a little bit to make it more easier for understanding and all that. Is it okay?
Yes.
Okay. So this is one of the fastest growing city in Africa, I say. And here, our country is one of the countries that has tried to work on invention, and we were one of the people, and in fact, one of the first country to invent one of the quickest way of transferring money through mobile phones. And that is one of the easiest way, M-Pesa. In Africa, transferring money has never been one of our major problems, particularly in my country. And this city is one of the most populated city in my country. I was doing my research, this country called Hamburg. Is it the right pronunciation?
Yeah.
It could be 3.5 million if that is the highest population in this country. And what that is, I think that is one of the highest populated country, city in Germany, according to my research, what I did. But Nairobi hosts more than 4 million, and that is based on the census that was done in the year 2009. So this one today is 2018. I think we are way beyond that one. And based on this population that stay in the city, the highest fraction, the biggest fraction of people staying in the city stay in the slums. So that one means the largest number of people stay in the slums. And according to the study that was done by UNICEF in between the year 2014 to 2018, it says that the population of Kenya, the highest number of population are children. In fact, it says 62% of the Kenyan population are children. That is way more than a half of the population of our country. And these children are really exposed to some of the socio-economic problems, some of the problems that lead or poses a lot of challenges into their health, their growth and development. We talk of dumping, all the plastic waste and all that. This is a river that is just some meters away from the school in which I teach, 5-star. Talk of flooding. It's one of the major problems that affects these children. And it affects them both from home and at school. So once the child comes from home that is flooded, he goes to school and again he finds the same problem. And talk of diseases, talk of sewerages, talk of poverty, talk of no food to eat, talk of living with 1 meal a day. I think these children are able to understand these things, and you don't need to define to them what is poverty, what is lack of food, and what is living with 1 meal a day. And I look at my life today, and it is barely unforgettable. I can't forget anything in my life, the way I grew. I was born and raised in an environment that was less than the thought of possibility, particularly human possibility. Most of the people wouldn't agree that a normal human being with functioning mind would actually grow in such kind of an environment. But based on the fact that I was born and raised in a very poor environment, I was the luckiest man on earth, particularly child, because I was a child by then. Why? Because I was born in one of the richest families on the planet. My father was one of the richest men on the planet Earth. My father used to work 7 days a week without rest. And he earned much more than even Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett makes 37 million US dollars a day. My father used to make more. My mother was one of the luckiest women on the planet Earth. Why? Because he married a man who was the richest man on the planet. And one of his sons was me, and I was one of the luckiest sons on the planet, because I was the son of one of the richest fathers on the planet. See, being a son or a daughter of one of the richest men on the planet makes you one of the most respected people, and those people who are living better lives on earth. And part of my luck was that I was the luckiest son in that family, because of all the children, I was the most loved, and I inherited much of my father's wealth. So that one says, or means, that I am the richest man on the planet Earth today. And part of the wealth that I inherited from my father was poverty and hard work. My father, I said, used to work 7 days a week to make sure that I go to school, to make sure that we have something on the table. And my mother was always by her side to make sure that she gives him the motivation to move on, to help us to get what we needed. And part of that, when I came out of the city, I don't have a college degree in my life. I never went to any kind of university on the planet. I went out of the village and I went to the city, and I had one major goal. And my goal, I had stuck on it, that I must achieve this. And if I must achieve anything that I know that I should know, that I know that I should know that I should achieve, was to achieve my goal. And that one was to get a better job, get a better pay, change my family, so that I would go home, build a very good house for my father and my mother, because they invested in me. So when I went into the city, I happened to land in the slums. You know, when we come from our village, we go to the city. Kangeni slum is one of the closest slums before you enter the city. So my sister used to live in this slum. So coming all the way from my rural area, I landed into the slum instead of the city. So the view I had for the city was changed. Because when I was coming, I was thinking I'm going to live in one of the best houses. I was thinking I'm going to wear or put on one of the best shoes, to put on one of the best suits, to live and stay and eat one of the best food ever. Because I'm coming from the rural area and I'm getting into the city. I think this is the best life I could get. But when I landed here, the first view was the houses that I met. We live in houses that are made of iron sheet from down up. Sometimes I used to call them suits. I don't know how to pronounce the word suit. But we have these officials who always put on a coat and a trouser of the same size, of the same color, of the same material. It's made basically done by the officials, particularly the presidents and all that. So I always relate our houses to those kind of dresses because they look the same from up to the, from down to the roof. The walls and the roofs are the same, made of iron sheet. Yes. So, and when I looked at the way things are, and I looked at the children, the way they were living, I was sick and tired. I was sick and tired seeing children living in the street, eating from dustbins. I was sick and tired to see children having children. And these are children they wouldn't even take care of. Because it is very difficult for a child to take care of a child. And that one I'm talking of a child at home. Now, imagine a situation, a child having a child in the streets. I think it's very, very unpleasing. Because this child is very innocent. This child has nothing to do with the streets, but you are bringing him or her inside this street. And he's sleeping in the cold. It's very tiring at some point. So the way I saw the slums, and I saw the children and the people who are living, I saw problems. And from that point, I discovered that I am one of the richest men on the planet. I discovered that given the fact that I came from one of the poorest families of the poorest, I came to discover I was rich. And I came to discover that my goal was not to look for a job. The view in which I looked at the world, I forgot my goal about looking for a job. And I started to look for how can I be a person of contribution to the society in which I just landed my foot. I started working on my mind and finding ways to be a person of service to these children, to the community I live in, and to the society in which I am today. And as I was looking and finding ways, I came to discover that a place where I was living, there were only 2 public schools. And KENIA is a society, or is a village that has a population of 200,000 people. A very small place, but 200,000 people in that slum. And given or basing on the research or the study that was done by UNICEF that says 62% of that population are children. That one shows you that out of the 200,000 people, the most of them are children. And all these children are supposed to be served by 2 schools that are offered by the state. And these schools would only handle a population of 2,000 to 4,000. That is all. The rest would stay in the street looking for ways on how to help their families get some food on the table. And I discovered that I can do something. So by then, I went into one of the schools where my niece were running. I looked for a job there. They rejected me because I didn't have a college degree. I sent my sister again. They rejected her. I sent my brother-in-law, and we went with him, and then things changed. I got a job. That was good news. Another good news was that I was promised a salary of 4,000 shillings. Another good news is what was the first month. Immediately we finished the first month, I was paid the 4,000 shillings. That was enough for me. However much it was more.
Das sind ungefähr 36 Euro als Monatsgehalt.
The second month, I was not paid. The third month, I was not paid. The fourth month, I was not paid. So I became, again, I wouldn't help anymore. Because as much as I want to help, but I also need to eat. Or else, I'll go back to the streets. So I discovered another way. I went for a night job. So I would go to school during the day. At night, I would go to do some work at some place. That was a security kind of job. I don't know, Mr. Alexander, I don't know.
A Nachtwächter.
Watchman. We call it like that. So I was also sick and tired because this job was not good for me. I was afraid to live in the night, in the cold, while somebody was sleeping in the house. I was not comfortable staying in somebody's gate while somebody is staying in his house, eating his bread and enjoying his life. And I said, this work, I can't do it. First month, I was paid 8,000. I was with my wife. We wouldn't survive on this money. So I wouldn't save. We would spend everything. Second month, I was paid. We wouldn't save anything. Third month, I was paid. And then I was only able to save 1,000 shillings. That would be equivalent to you told me 9 euros. So I decided, because I want to serve my community, but I'm now trying to look for money. So it turns out that I'm chasing for money, I'm not chasing towards serving my community. And I started. And that's why I always tell people, particularly young people today, I talk to young people so much. And I tell them, where you are, with what you have, you need to know that you have much more than enough to get started chasing your dream. You have much more than enough to start changing your society. You have much more than enough to start living a life of contribution, showing people what to do in life, and also helping other people. Because it's Bob Marley who once said, your life is only worth it if it is able to affect other people's life. But if your life is only affecting you positively and not affecting the rest of people living around you, you are not worth living. And I came to realize that it is very important and it is very easy to build strong children than to repair broken men. So I started to work with children, and that is when I decided to come up with this school for these young children. This is 5-star. It is a school that has a population of 264 students right now. But to reach this point was not an easy task again, because life was really more difficult to us. I said earlier that when I started, and even before I started, I had my wife. And when we started this school, my wife was pregnant. So I had to provide for my family, and I had to take care of these children, and I had to provide for myself again. And at that time, we decided to start with 1,000 shillings that I had saved, equivalent to 9 euros. And we started with one student who was chased from school and had stayed home for 3 months, and she was not able to go back to school because the parents were jobless, and she had stayed home for 3 months, and there was no hope again for going back to school. And the 2 of them were street boys, which I just took from the streets, and we started in my house with 1,000 shillings. And my wife was there. I thank her because she gave me all the motivation to do this. As we started, I came to realize that this was a blessing to the society in which I was living. Sometimes you look at problems and you try to find solutions. You don't know if it is going to work, but at times you discover that this one was the right course, this one was the right way, and people will start to follow you because you are providing a service that is also needed in that community. And I discovered that this one was the only service that my people needed. And helping these children came with bad news as well as good news. The good news was that as I started, majority of children and parents followed me trying to look for my service. And the bad news was that at the end of the day, the growth of this population was now exceeding my ability to help them. The ability to help these children was now growing dimmer and dimmer, and I wouldn't help anymore. But good news again was that inside these students, there was a child who was the son of a pastor around. And this pastor offered to give us a place in his church to take care of these children. Then I said, good. And we started. When we started there, the landlord again refused. This business, you cannot do here. We told her, this is not a business. We are only trying to help. And we are not paying the church anything. We are only helping, and the church has also helped us to help these children. But the landlady knew that we were paying the landlord a lot of money, and she was the owner of the house, and therefore she would never wanted us there. The next morning when we came, we got 2 padlocks on the door. And it was raining in the morning, and it was muddy outside. I, my wife who was pregnant, and the children, we found ourselves there. And our blackboard, where we used to write, was outside. Who put it outside? We don't know. And we decided now we are quitting. We are coming out of this place. And we carried our blackboard with all the children, we moved. But in between, I made a quick decision. I called one of the pastors who was a friend to the husband of my sister. And he told me, Charles, what you do, go and use that church. But we can't talk through the phone right now. Because you know, the church belongs to many people. It doesn't belong to me. So go use the church, but in the evening when we come, we will talk. And that's why we are here until today. The lot of problem that we faced in was that this one, I tell people that when you try to become a person of service and you want to serve the community, you should always be ready for problems. And if you always keep yourself running away from your problems, you will never serve your community. You will never serve your people. You will never change your family. You will never change your country. But if you face problems and take them positively and learn from them, you will serve your community and you will leave a legacy behind you. And I remember myself, by the time we had started here, and at time we reached when we wouldn't pay rent for 3 months. And because when the school is broke, I'm also broke because I'm the owner of the school. So the broke person heading a broke kind of institution, and at home we had not paid rent for 2 months. And when we were in the school and we were leaving, the landlord came and he said, here there is no school. Tomorrow you look for a place to go and stay. Mine is to do a business. I need money from my houses. For you, if you're helping children, go help them somewhere else. And he took some offcuts we have when you are having timber, and then there is this piece of the wood that comes out, that is the outer part. So he took those ones and nailed them on the door while we were watching. And the children were looking, some were laughing, and I didn't know what to do. I told my wife, let's go home. Maybe we will talk tomorrow. And then when we went home, at home, the landlord had already closed the door again. And he took a piece of iron sheet and he nailed it on the door. And my wife was pregnant. She had seen this when we were at school. She's again seeing this when we are at home. And because as a husband, you always want to tell your wife, things are okay, I'm in control. And I never wanted to say that one with my mouth. But I wanted to prove to her through my action. So I went to the landlord and I talked to him. The landlord told me, I don't want your money, but I want you out of my house. We tried to talk. He repeated the same thing. Then I asked him now one last question. Then, if you want me out of your house, why did you close my house and my property is inside? He told me, I don't know. And then I realized that we might not agree in terms of conversation because I'm a man and he's a man. So I made a decision. I went and talked to my wife and told her, can you go and talk to the landlord? Maybe he can understand you because you are a lady. Maybe. But I never told her because you are a lady. I just told her, just go and talk to her, to him. Maybe he can understand you. When my wife went there, things were the same. He refused. So I decided, as a man, I went to my sister where she lives, and I took a hammer. I wanted to make my own decisions. And I went to walk by. When it reached 9 at night, I came and I took my hammer and I started driving those nails to open the door. And because I was doing this and there was some sounds that come when you drive out the nail, and the landlord had. He came with a panga in his hands, and his wife, and his daughter, and his son. And there was a big quarrel over there. And the landlord was threatening to want to cut me. Then I realized some things you might think that is a joke, and something might happen. Then I said, then it's okay. He refused to open. We went. And on that night, I remember sleeping on the floor of an old abandoned building. A building without a door, it is just open, the windows are open, and it is just empty like that. We slept there without even covering our body. And my wife was pregnant. I thank God we woke up in the morning when we were okay. But now, as my wife Brannis and I woke up in the morning, she was standing right in the middle of the house. And I was seated there on the floor. And I looked at her eyes, on her face, right in the middle of her face. And she was shedding tears, forming number 11 on her cheeks. And she was staring at me. Then I tried to figure, this woman, she must be having some questions. But nevertheless, I don't care. And I was ashamed. And I tried to figure out some of the questions that might be trickling in her mind. And maybe she was asking herself, why on the planet Earth did I get married to this idiot who cannot even provide for her family? Who can let me sleep in the cold night? And those questions, I don't know if those were the questions she was asking herself, but I thought those were the questions she was asking herself. Then I moved to where she was. I was ashamed, and I was nervous, and I thought that possibly when I reach her, she might even slap me. But with courage, I moved to where she was. Then as though the baby would hear what I was just about to say because she was pregnant, I went on my knees by then, and then I held her tightly. And then as though the baby would hear what I was just about to say, I sobbed a little bit. Then I said, baby, your daddy will never be broke again. And that was not a promise that I was giving to my wife. That was not a promise that I was giving to myself, but that was a promise I was giving to my child. I did not know what kind of a child I was going to bring on this planet Earth. I didn't know whether he was a boy or a girl. I didn't know whether he was going to come out alive or dead. But that was the promise I gave him. I didn't know whether he had or not. And that promise awakened all the energies in me. And I started thinking of the way my father used to work hard to keep me to school, to provide for me. And I started becoming conscious about my strength. I started becoming conscious about this wealth that I had in me. And I started becoming committed to what I was required to do, to provide for my family and also to provide for these young boys and girls. And for that promise is that what has made us reach this point that we have reached. And that one is not the end of the story. At some point when we are keeping these boys and girls, it reached a point where these boys and girls at school, we would report some cases of children fainting in school. And we wouldn't tell why children are fainting in school. At some point, people in the community will talk. They say, Charles has started something here that is not going to work with us. This guy is now related with the devil worshiping. He's doing some kind of Illuminati. And people would talk a lot of stories. And I would get scared. At some point I would say, let me stop this thing. Because these challenges are too much. But sometimes things come unexpected. We just decided we need to start providing for these children some food at school. When we did this and we decided to provide this food and we provided, after 2 months, those months went without any report or any case of children fainting at school. Then at the end of the day, we came to discover these children were fainting in school because they were coming to school on their empty stomach. And they would stay at school from morning to evening without anything to eat. And that one is what brought in such kind of cases. The stories went, communities stopped talking, and today we are here where we are. And part of that, to sustain this food program, this is what we have started, the permaculture garden, which is also strongly supported by Nyendo, an organization that is found here in Germany. And this food program, we designed it in a way that we are able to provide different varieties of food product at a very small piece of land. It is something like 10 meters by 20 meters. And we are able to provide all sorts of products. And part of that, I see, we are able to have these happy little souls jumping everywhere and feeling happy with their lives. This is one of the teachers at school who has stayed there for more than 5 years. And I always salute her for bearing with all the problems that are found at 5-star. Here is my son, who is also, whom I always say that I promised him that I will never be broken. And I will always work hard to make him one of the best, the son who feels that he has a father. And as we move on, that is my wife who almost slapped me when I was not able to provide for my family. Today, she helped me take care of the children. Today, she is one of those people who looks at this thing that we are doing, and she feels like her life is part of this. These are the children in their classroom, the kindergarten children. These are classrooms that are made of iron sheet, like our houses themselves. And the size of this classroom, I would compare it with something like, I would say it is maybe from that chair to here, and then it's a square kind of. When I'm in front of the classroom and I have a stick, I'm able to cane the last student, but we don't cane them, please. We don't cane them. So, can we move?
Ich möchte noch hinzufügen, dass auf diesen 9 Quadratmetern Wellblech-Klassenzimmer 25 bis 30 Schüler sitzen. Nur, dass man eine Vorstellung hat, also die Klassen sind so groß wie unsere, die machen aber aus einem Klassenraum locker mal 4 bis 6.
And basing on what we are providing for these kids and the food we provide, I think these children are more healthier than I do. You can even see the way they smile and the way they look. I love them. And as we move, here I have the 9 heroes of 5-star. These people, I call them heroes because these are some of the people who are able to survive in a desert. These are some of the people who are able to work without pay. These are some of the people who are able to work with a pay of 4,000 to 5,000 shillings a month. And they have to pay a rent of 3,000 shillings. Out of the 5,000, 2,000 is remaining in the pocket. That is enough to keep you clean, to dress well, to eat well, to travel, and to call your people. They are the heroes. And she is the teacher I said has stayed in school for more than 5 years. And why do I talk about her so much? Some of these teachers came a few years ago. Some of them came a few months ago. And some come and they look at the toilet. They look at the salary they are given. They look at the type of food they eat. They look at the condition of the classroom. They look at the size of the compound. And they want to quit. But she's the one who always encourages them. And she tells them, this one is just but a bit of the problem that we have faced at school here. Today you get classroom has been built. Today you get at least the teacher is able to try to give us something little. At some point we would go more than 2 months or 3 months without getting paid. But we are still waiting and hopeful. So he encouraged these people, and these people are able to stay with me because of her. And
I would like to add something.
Yeah, thank you.
Also ergänzen muss man das bei dem Gehalt, das die kriegen, was also ja, irgendwas zwischen 40 und 50 Euro im Monat ist. Wie er sagte, ungefähr 30 Euro für die Wellblechhütte, für die Miete draufgehen, die man zahlt. Und dann kann man natürlich sagen, Lebenshaltungskosten werden sicherlich günstiger sein. Das kommt sehr darauf an. Also Zitronen, Mangos sind viel günstiger als bei uns. Ein Liter Milch kosten Euro im Monat, im Supermarkt, wenn man einen kauft. Also im Supermarkt die Preise sind relativ ähnlich wie hier. Das heißt, von dem Geld kann man eigentlich gar nicht überleben. das sie dort zahlen können, den Lehrern. Dazu kommt, dass in Kenia per Gesetz 4 Monate im Jahr die Schulen geschlossen sind und in dieser Zeit zahlen die Schüler oder die Eltern kein Schulgeld und in dieser Zeit kriegen die Lehrer kein Gehalt. Das Schulgeld sind 4,80 € im Monat, das können nicht ganz 1/3 der Familien können sich das leisten, das zu zahlen. 2/3 dürfen an diesen 14 Schulen, die wir da im Slum haben, von denen 5-Star eine ist, dürfen einfach umsonst dahin gehen, weil ihnen das so am Herzen liegt, dass die Schüler einfach, die können die nicht vor die Tür setzen, wenn die nicht zahlen können. So, thank you.
Thank you. And that is a student in front of our toilet. That is our hotel where we provide for them food, the kitchen. That is one of the students. I took him a photo when I went to visit them at home. And that's a student here in Germany. He comes from Frankfurt, and that's a parent at school. Right now, she is in her shop selling. And when we went to visit this parent, this student had come to visit our school. And when they saw the conditions, they started asking me questions. They asked me questions, I told them. But they say, Charles, we wouldn't understand these things. Can we visit some of the parents and see these conditions ourselves? I was with Casimir here and Jonathan. But Jonathan wouldn't settle in that house. He was kind of not settled at all. And I discovered something. Then when we went back to school, Jonathan would tell me, Charles, can we get into your office and have a talk? And when we went there, Jonathan just said one thing. Charles, I can't imagine. I get into one of the parents' house and there is only one chair, one table and a bed, and that house is complete. And they're living more than 4 people in that same house, 10 by 10, and he started crying. Now, don't talk, it is crying. And I would take my time to prove everything that this parent is able to stay in school with 3 terms not paying school fees, and also prove by the register that the children had been in school for all that period until Jonathan saw that, and he came to realize that indeed we are doing the right thing and we are really trying to make these parents, their children, stay in school. That's when Jonathan came to fall. Sometimes it is good to see what's happening. And those were greetings. Those were, I don't want to talk about them. They were greetings from 5-Star to you. And maybe you received them. And that is my wife. Here, she is playing with kids. What she does is that she owns a shop. And in this shop, what she does, she sells general shop products, soaps and whatever, everything inside that shop. And whatever profit she gets, she goes into the market, she buys flour. I don't know, you know flour?
Mehl. Flour.
Yeah. You call?
Mehl.
Meal. She buys flour and then comes and prepare for them porridge. After preparing for them porridge, they drink all together. After they drink, she goes to play with them, and then she lets them go back to class, and then she goes back to the shop to do the normal business. And those are children playing in front of the classroom. She is there giving some pencils to those young children, and those are our students playing football outside the school compound. Hope you can see our board. And those are students, grade 8 students. I'm the class teacher, and I always work with them in that very small garden to ensure that that garden stays clean, stays green, and produce are always produced from that farm each and every day. And those are few products that we get from that farm. And these are some of the pupils or children who have refused to go to school. They have refused. And I think that was a wise decision to me. Because at some point I asked people, if it were you, Now we say that you are one of these children. And you have two options in your life. Go to school and eat nothing. Stay at home and eat something. What would you choose? According to me, I would choose staying at home and eat something. And that's what those children have decided. Because the issue is that these are children that are fathered and mothered by those parents who don't do job, but they go to look for a job. I always stress on that. They don't go for a job, but they go to look for it. Because these are parents who go where the rich people live. In our country, we have areas of rich people and poor people. So they go those areas and they sit on the street, just sitting, and that is looking for a job. So they wait for any rich man or any rich woman that would pass by. And if this rich man would pass, and only if he has a problem or she has a problem, maybe she wanted her house to be cleaned, or her clothes to be ironed, or washed, or cleaning the plates and whatever, or even cooking for her, or taking care of the baby, then this rich person would stop by. And she would pick one of the women there, maybe. She would just call one. So that one person would get a job that day. Not she would get a job, but she would get a job that day. So that one means if she gets a job that day, she will be having something to put on the table today. But if she sits here and she has nothing, then you and your children, and maybe possibly with your husband, you are going to sleep on an empty stomach. So it is better we let these children go to the streets, go into the river, look for something, the way we can get something to feed. They go to buy scrap, to pick scrap metals from the street and sell to get something so that they can help their parents put some food on the table. Some of them go along the river. This river passes by our school. They go there to do fishing, and there is where I got them. They take mosquito nets, and that is what they use to fish. They take one child to step on the mosquito net at the bank of the river, and the other one steps the other side. The two are let in between to step on the mosquito net in between, in the middle of the river, so that any living creature that passes will never, ever cross without getting into the net. And then we send, the biggest team now is sent up the river to go and interfere with anything, everything in the water. They step on the river banks to just interfere with everything so that any fish, any frog, any snake that is along the river moves down the river. So when they pull up the net, they are able to get snakes, frogs, tadpoles, fish, and everything. So they sort what they want and return whatever they don't want back into the river. And that's how they make their living. So I got one of them when they were doing this. And one of them never wanted me to interfere with their project. So he decided to be friendly to me, while the rest were ignoring me. So I wouldn't cane them, I wouldn't force them out of the water, but I would only talk to this student or child who has become a friend to me. And we talked, and he decided to take me home so that I would talk to the parents. And I was pleased. He walked me, he took me along the streets, he took me. And then when we reached at some point, he said, I want to go to the toilet. And I waited until I never saw somebody. Or maybe he had returned back to that point, I don't know. But it was maybe an intention to confuse me and get me out of this project so that the project would continue. And that's my family. She is my wife. This is the child I promised, and this is my second boy. And these are 14 schools that we work with in the slums. Part of the 14 schools, number 8 is Kangemi Youth School. That is one of the oldest schools that was found before even the rest of the 13 were found. And he is the one that connected with Nyendo. And today, we are together. We work together, and we come to realize that we are experiencing the same problem. The same problem the other school experienced is the same problem that the other school experienced. But sometimes sharing your story and problems, it gives you some solution, because somebody is able to tell you, this is how I solved mine, and this is how I solved mine. And you become stronger and stronger. And I'm always appreciative of this network. Thank you very much. Maybe I finish with one thing I love most. If you want to think bad enough to go out and fight for it, to give up your time and your peace and your sleep for it, to work day and night for it, and if life seems useless and worthless without it, and if you want to go for that thing that you want with all your capacity, strength and sagacity, faith, hope, and confidence, stand for tenacity, if neither cold poverty, famished and down, strength of body and brain, of sickness of body and brain can keep you away from that thing that you want. If dogged and green, you besiege and beset it, you will get it. Anything you want in life, and you start it with the love, you will always achieve what you want. I always tell people, the most important thing in life, look in ways you can affect your community positively. And you start from where you are. Don't start from very far. All things that you want are just within. Thank you very much, and God bless you.